The girl just glances at the can, and it instantly crumples into a ball. It turns out she can control objects with her mind alone. Dr. Brenner breaks into a sinister smile and orders her to crush the white cat. But the girl tears off the devices, refusing to use her powers no matter what. Dr. Brenner is utterly disappointed and has her locked in a dark room for punishment. The girl can no longer contain her anger. She uses her mind to fling open the door and eliminates all the guards. She then flees the lab barefoot. Starving, she sneaks into a restaurant's kitchen, grabs a handful of fries and scarfs them down. The restaurant owner spots her and catches her red-handed. Taking pity on the poor girl, the owner doesn't give her a hard time. Instead, he makes her a hamburger. But the girl refuses to say much, only revealing her name is 11. Thinking she's a runaway who escaped abduction, the owner calls the social services for help. The noise of the fan disturbs her meal. She stares at it intently for a split second, and the fan stops spinning. Late at night, a woman knocks on the restaurant door, claiming to be a social services worker. The owner lets her in without hesitation, but she suddenly pulls the trigger. It turns out the lab run by Dr. Brenner has been monitoring all calls, determined to track down 11. 11 takes down 2 of her men in a panic. By the time Dr. Brenner arrives, 11 has already vanished without a trace. On the other side of town, something even more bizarre is happening. Mike and his 3 friends are playing games in the basement of his house, but it's getting too late. Mike's mom has to step in to stop the game and tell them to go to bed. The 3 friends say reluctant goodbyes to Mike and head home on their bikes. On the way, Dustin suggests racing Will to see who gets home faster. Will pedals as hard as he can, leaving Dustin far behind. To take a shortcut, he sneaks into a restricted area, exactly the land where that laboratory is located. Will has no idea danger is closing in. A dark figure flashes by suddenly, scaring him off his bike and rolling down the woods. As the monster closes in, Will abandons his bike and sprints toward home, slamming the door shut, but his brother and mom are both working the night shift and aren't there. He musters up the courage to walk to the window and look outside. Horror strikes. The monster has followed him home. He grabs the phone to call for help, but only eerie static comes through the line. Will bolts out the back door and flees to the shed. He finds a shotgun and cocks it tremblingly, but the monster materializes right behind him. In a burst of intense flashing lights, both of them vanish. Early the next morning, Will's mom and brother return home from their night shift, only to realize Will is missing. So Will's mom Joyce calls Mike's mom to ask about him. Mike's mom says Will left her house at 8 p.m. the night before. Joyce immediately senses something is wrong and rushes to the police station to report her son missing. But the chief doesn't take it seriously. The small town is peaceful. No crimes or accidents have happened there in decades. The chief thinks Will might have skipped school to play, but Joyce is certain that's not like her son. He would never disappear without a word. Something must have happened to him. Under Joyce's insistent demands, the chief reluctantly agrees to search for Will. First, he goes to the school to find Will's 3 friends and ask about the previous night. That's when the 3 boys learn their friend is missing and panic sets in. But they can't provide any useful clues. The chief and his deputies search along Will's bike route. They quickly find Will's bike in the woods, and the chief finally realizes something is very wrong. A bike is invaluable to a kid. Will would never abandon it unless it was an emergency. The chief goes to Will's house and notices signs that the door was forced open. This means Will had made it home the night before. A dog outside keeps barking frantically toward the shed, catching the chief's attention. He finds the loaded shotgun inside. Just as he's about to investigate further, the lights go out. Everything feels increasingly bizarre. The chief immediately gathers the entire town to expand the search, but they still find nothing. With their best friend missing for a full day, the 3 young boys can't sit idly by. They brave the heavy rain and venture into the dark woods. But the figure that appears before them isn't Will, it's 11. Over at the laboratory, Dr. Brenner orders everyone to put on protective gear and arm themselves with heavy weapons. They then take the elevator down to the deepest level of the lab. It was here, in a laboratory in Indiana back in 1983, that the monster chased down a lab worker and escaped the night before. Now, a slimy cave remains on the wall, ouncing with disgusting mucus and tentacles. Even as the cave expands, Dr. Brenner doesn't tell his men to hunt the monster first. Instead, he insists they find the girl at all costs. Little do they know, their target is right there in Mike's basement. Seeing that she's soaking wet, Mike grabs a clean set of clothes for her to change into. 11 instinctively undresses.
No! Oh my God!
Having been locked up in the lab for so long, 11 doesn't understand the difference between boys and girls. Mike thoughtfully guides her to the bathroom. 11 refuses to let him lock the door, asking him to leave it slightly ajar. 11's behavior is far too strange. Lucas and Dustin want nothing to do with her. But Mike is different. He decides to let her stay in the basement for the night. First thing in the morning, he'll ask his mom to take her to social services. But 11 rejects the idea, saying she doesn't want anyone else's help. She uses hand gestures to tell Mike that bad people are chasing her. She just wants to stay here. Meanwhile, a mysterious call comes through to Will's mom, but all she hears is faint breathing and a gurgling sound like the monsters. Joyce's intuition tells her it's her son calling. The phone burns out, and Joyce is on the verge of collapse, unable to reach her youngest son. Her oldest son, Jonathan, is also racked with guilt for failing to protect his little brother. The next day, while his family is out, Mike shows 11 around his house and plays with her. When 11 sees a photo of the 4 boys, she points at Will with a terrified look. Mike realizes she seems to know Will. Suddenly, Mike's mom comes home. He hurries to take her to his bedroom and hides her in the closet. The cramped, dark space triggers 11's painful memories of the laboratory, and she has a PTSD episode. Faced with the boys' questions, she only stays silent. Lucas doesn't want any trouble and storms out, planning to call Mike's mom to kick her out. 11 uses her powers to block the exit.
No.
After learning about 11's powers, the boys are so scared they can't eat their dinner. They bring her meatloaf, promising not to tell anyone about her. They'd only upset her because they're desperate to find their friend. But 11 has no idea what a friend is. The boys explain with specific examples, and 11 finally understands how important Will is to them. So she uses her powers to sense Will's location, then tells everyone through a game Will is hiding. But he's not hiding from humans, he's hiding from a monster. Meanwhile, Joyce goes to her boss at the store to ask for an advance on her paycheck, to fund the search for her son and buy a new phone. Back at the laboratory, they overhear news of Will's disappearance. Dr. Brenner suspects the escaped monster is behind it. He orders the technicians to put on protective gear and sneak into Will's yard to search. Following their equipment's readings, they enter the shed, and sure enough, they find the monster's slime. Alright, that's it for today's recap. There are tons more suspense and crime drama recaps waiting for you. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps these recaps coming.